Hello and welcome to Intro to C++ Programming. Today I'll be covering the first program that you're probably going to write, aka Hello World. So without further ado, let's just jump into the slides. If you just want to skip over the slides, you can just check the timestamps below. You can just jump right into the programming. And we'll just kind of breeze through the slides anyway. So, first thing we want to cover is documentation, and basically what that is any example that accompanies the software or is embedded into the source code itself, and it's just for showing requirements. It might be for the end user if it's like text or illustrations, or maybe for marketing or just documenting whatever you write. So commenting is that embedding into the source code. It's just written by programmers and it's going to be ignored when the program executes. It's for many things like planning, removal, code description, resource inclusion, metadata, debugging, directive uses where the compiler will actually read whatever's happening. We're not going to talk about that for a while. And for stress relief. So commenting, a couple different ways to do it. The double slashes, is just for single lines, which is, this is the key to use it. Multi-line is slash star star slash. You can have the asterisk there as like a bullet point. Sometimes the editor will do it for you. Maybe you have to do it. It's just easier to read. And it's going to be, again, closed with the reverse of whatever you typed above. Now, if you went in from another language, particularly HTML, JavaScript, this is not legal, like at all. That being said, if you were to comment in Python, the pound symbol is used for something in C++, not commenting. It's for preprocessors. We'll go over a more definite definition, kind of redundant, later, but you're going to be seeing this in every video. And if you just want to show some stress relief, there you go. As you can see, nothing pops up in our results because we just commented. So maybe you'll get like an error because these exist, but no point in showing that. It's illegal anyway. So, pseudocode. This is exactly what we're going to be writing without the comments, so I'm just going to breeze through it. What we're going to want is a header file. This is so we can recognize input and output. This is so that or the compiler knows that we're using the standard library. This is where the meat of our, writing is going to be going from here until, well, pretty much until the end of these videos. And we want an output statement so that we print text onto the screen, and this isn't necessary, but I highly, highly recommend doing it. So, without further ado, let's go into the actual programming itself. Okay, so what we're going to want to do in Visual Studio is look for empty project. If you're in something that isn't Visual Studio, you do pretty much the same thing. Of course, the interface will be different. So we create. I don't really care what I call it. I don't really care where I save it. Okay, so this is what you're going to see if you're using Visual Studio. So what we're going to want to do to get something up here is source files, add new item. Now we want to make sure that we're on .cpp because this is what the actual program is. We'll get into these later, but they're not going to be useful for a couple videos. So I'm not going to rename this. You can rename it. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to add that. Okay, great. Got this blank screen. What are we going to do? Okay, let's start writing. So, pound symbol. That is not a pound symbol. Include IO stream or input output stream, semicolon, which is going to be used to end most of our statements, using namespace std or standard, int main, so the type and the function. Open up these brackets. We're going to want C output and these quotation marks here, hello world, and that statement. And again, it's not necessary, I just recommend doing this turn 0. Well, we just wrote the first program, so let's execute it. And it works. I maybe should have included like a space in between here, but it doesn't really matter. It works. That's what matters, right? You could get rid of this text, but I'm not going to show you how to do it because it's not good practice, and I want to encourage you to look stuff up on your own. Basically, if you want to get rid of all this like location or, press any key, blah, 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 you're going to do something called system.pause. Again, I'm not going to show it. I want to encourage you to look stuff up. Very simple to do though, I want to let you know that right now. And just another quick thing, if anybody's using antivirus software, particularly AVG or anything by Avast, sometimes it has issues with Visual Studio, your program just might crash and then you have to like restart it. But I would recommend is just either turn off AVG, maybe not completely, at least for Visual Studio though, and you should be fine. So, before we end the video, I'm just going to go over some errors you might encounter, or just some things you can do ever so slightly differently. So, first off, very important that we include this. Include, kind of redundant. Let's see what happens if we don't. I'm going to get an error on this cout, and it says that it's undefined. Now, because we're grabbing the output, we want this stream of output, so we want that processor. Now, if I were to comment out that we're using the standard library, I'm also going to get undefined. So I don't technically need that, but what I'm going to do to fix this is std : and it will fix that. Now, I could also just leave this if I were to uncomment it, but it's not really going to affect anything. So if you don't have a namespace, you're going to have to do this std or whatever library you're using every line. So if you just want to make things convenient, do use a namespace, and you're probably going to be using the standard library for a little bit, so I would recommend doing that. So, just wrote your first program. Congratulations. Hope you stick around for the next video. It'll be on basic input-output, some formatting, all that good stuff. And I will be leaving this program commented up with whatever I talked about in this video in the GitHub. So, see you around.